Aloha, this is Representative Lisa Martin, and I wanted to explain what was going on with Red Hill because it does impact us in across the state and in my district as well. We had a briefing last week with the US Pacific Fleet, including the person who is in charge of all the military water supply across the Pacific. And they really stuck to two talking points. One was what they are doing about the immediate crisis now that the Red Hill shaft is polluted with jet fuel. And that is impacted the water supply and contaminated the pipes for all the housing in this area, military and some civilian housing. So what they are doing is they are flushing out all the pipes with water from the Waiava shaft because they have closed the Red Hill shaft and the Halava shaft. And once those pipes are clean enough, then they will supply water with the Waiava shaft and bring people back to the area. They can't clean out the Red Hill shaft or the Red Hill storage tanks yet. They are going to need additional equipment and supplies and a plan of what to do with the contaminated water before they can do that. The other thing they talked about was bringing testing to our island so that it's quicker to get the results of monitoring. When asked about long-term strategies, they came back to those 2 points, much like a broken record. And the reason is they don't actually control the decisions about the fuel tanks there, because those fuel tanks are not just a supply for our local Navy operations. It is a global fuel storage facility to supply all of the government agencies and military branches should there be an emergency. And it is huge. There are 20 tanks, and each one of them is equivalent to 25-story tall. And they are 80 years old. They are single wall. Nobody would get a permit, whether they are in the military or in private industry, to store fuel that way today. In addition, there is corrosion and holes that cannot be reached for repair. Now, they are located at Red Hill, which now I know, and now you know, and certainly enemies know that. And this seems like a very vulnerable place to store all of our fuel for emergencies. This is a timeline provided by the Department of Health showing what has happened with these fuels. In 2014, there was a massive spill. As a result, the Department of Health and EPA entered into an administrative order of consent, which the Navy voluntarily entered into. And since that time, nothing has happened. The Navy has not agreed to relocate or update the facilities, and the Department of Health and EPA, frankly, haven't forced them to. Fast forward to last year, there was a couple surface water spills. And then this year we had 1, 2, 3 spills. The last one being enormous, the jet fuel spill, which we believe contaminated the water supply and has resulted in all the health problems. Now, an issue, in addition to the Navy not taking preventive measures since 2014, is that when they had the more recent spills, they did not inform the Department of Health of what they were doing. And there's a Navy whistleblower that claims that they have not reported corrosion and holes that they have found in inspections over the last decades to the Department of Health. Here is Ernest Lau, who's a manager of the Board of Water Supply. And frankly, he does everything the opposite of what we are seeing the Navy in this particular instance. He is all about prevention. He is systematically digging up and replacing a certain number of miles of our Board of Water piping every single year so that we can end up with modern, updated infrastructure and minimize all of the water main breaks. He has also been a clear and consistent voice for protecting our groundwater supply, and he has explained it to me as follows at a recent legislative hearing. So basically, our water that we have underneath our island is a natural system. So it's not a man-made system that we can control or clean out. It's naturally made. And basically this fresh water is trapped under our island by a sheet of caprock, which is not porous. And the water is stored in our porous volcanic, lava tubes. And we just tap into it through deep wells or more shallow shafts, and we pump water out. Now, the Board of Water Supply only pumps out as much as water is recharged, because if they were to pump out more, we might end up getting some of our salt water from below sucked up into our water supply, and that would make our water saline and not usable. And what's going on right now, here we have the Navy facility, the Red Hill Shaft, and just a mile away, we have our Board of Water Supply, Halava Shaft. So when the Navy shut down their shaft, the Board of Water Supply responded by shutting down their shaft, and then there are two wells nearby because they don't want to draw that contaminated water, like suction underneath the ground and draw it towards those wells. Now, we lost all that water supply, and that supplies these neighborhoods in the area, but also all of East Honolulu. And as a result, they have had to shift the water source to other wells, and other wells are now working at higher capacity. And when we hit the summer months, when there's much more demand for water, we may have to take conservation measures because we can't pump up more water than is being replaced because of the risk of having saline water. This has a huge impact on our economy because new developments need to go to the Board of Water Supply to be approved, seeing that there is enough water, whether it's affordable housing or some other development that stimulates our economy, and they will not get those permits at this point without us knowing that there will be enough water for them. Another thing that's happened is that the Halava area, they had invested in a generator to keep us safe and keep us with water should a hurricane cut off our electricity supply. And now that investment is lost because we may never reopen those water sources again. As a response, the governor has issued an emergency order, and he has asked the Navy to suspend operations at the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility to treat the water and to assess how they could defuel those tanks safely, then to actually defuel them, and then to assess the whole system before putting any type of fuel back in it. Now, the Navy has contested this, saying that the state can't tell them what to do. There will be a hearing on Tuesday, which we will be following. And also Tuesday night, I would like to invite you to come and listen to Ernie Lau from the Board of Water Supply and ask him questions that you might have about this issue. You can check it out on my Facebook page. Aloha.